Hello Booktube, this is Kelly, and the name of my channel is Books I'm Not Reading. And I did not read a Shakespeare play this week for Shaketube, but I still wanted to post something Shakespeare related. So I want to just tell you about a few films that are near and dear to me that are related to Shakespeare, and one movie that I really want to love, but it's just a little too ridiculous. So I did talk about this adaptation of As You Like It in my As You Like It video, so I'll link down to that below if you're interested in learning more about this film. But I want to kind of spend time talking about some other things. So the first thing is, I believe, not this week, but next week, Steve Donahue will be talking about the authorship question, was Shakespeare Shakespeare? And so the first thing I have is a documentary done by Michael Wood that's called In Search of Shakespeare. This is 4 discs. Well, it's 2 discs, but it's 4 episodes long. And I actually just realized in getting ready for this video that there's extra footage that's not seen. Michael Wood, if you've never seen a Michael Wood documentary, you definitely need to find one. He's also done one about myths and legends. He's done one about India. I believe there's one, I haven't seen it, about China. But this was kind of my first introduction to Michael Wood, and he's so fantastic because even though he has the whole documentary planned out in his mind, he acts like everything is just like he's surprised, or he's like, I don't know, it just brings so much joy to watch him. Because he's just so sort of in awe of the world, and he's got all these appointments scheduled of when he can interview people, when he can see certain documents, and he knows, I'm assuming, that what he's going to find, what he's going to see, otherwise he wouldn't be taking us there, right, in this film. But when he actually sees it on camera, he's just like, oh my gosh, and it's great. It's just really, really fun, and I just feel like he's just young at heart. And they also got the Royal Shakespeare Company to perform parts of the plays mentioned in the documentary, just little snippets here and there, but it's still the Royal Shakespeare Company, so that's awesome. Anyway, I highly recommend this. I really do enjoy documentaries, but this one I think is extra special. On the other end of the spectrum of the authorship question, we have this movie, Anonymous. And Jason and I saw this in the theater. It stars Rhys Ifans, who I didn't even recognize in the movie. He plays Edward de Vere, who's one of the people that is said to be the real Shakespeare. But it's just, there's part of the story in this film is just absolutely ludicrous. It's about Edward de Vere's relationship to Queen Elizabeth, and I just find it, well, A, far-fetched, and B, it just makes me kind of want to gag. Anyway, but Rhys Ifans himself, he's the guy who's the god-awful roommate in Notting Hill with Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts. And I just didn't even recognize him when we saw this in the theater, and when we left, I asked Jason about who he was, and he's telling me, and I'm like, but in this, he's so, I think the word I used in the theater was yummy, which is terrible. But anyway, this could have been such a great movie for those of you who don't believe that Shakespeare was Shakespeare, but they just got a little carried away. So anyway, I mean, yeah, don't buy it. Just rent it or borrow it from someone. It is enjoyable. Mark Rylance is in it. David Thewlis is in it. Derek Jacobi, of course. Anyway, it is enjoyable, but it's also like there is a kind of a subplot or part of the plot that is just like, oh, so nasty. Anyway, then of course we have the Olivia de Hussey version of Romeo and Juliet. Of course, directed by Franco Zeffirelli. Now, I know many of you know a different Romeo and Juliet, one with Leonardo DiCaprio in it. But when I was growing up, this is what we saw in high school. This was the Romeo and Juliet of my time, and so I'm really glad that we own this on DVD, because I loved it when I saw it in high school and still do. And I also grabbed this as well, West Side Story, which is essentially a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. It's a brilliant musical. I need just Juan here to sing some of it. I'm not going to sing any of it, so don't worry about that. Incredible dancing. Yeah, just, it's a wonderful movie, but definitely is inspired by Romeo and Juliet. And finally, let's see, a couple more. So, obviously you know about Shakespeare in Love, right? You do know about this film, hopefully. And of course, again, this is about Shakespeare, but it's just not really, there's nothing historical. It's total fantasy. But there's great fun in it. It did win Best Picture, which is a major point of contention with film buffs, because that was 1999, and Saving Private Ryan was nominated for Best Picture, as was The Thin Red Line, which is Jason's favorite film of all time. Don't ever get him started on Terrence Malick. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so Jason's theory is that Saving Private Ryan and The Thin Red Line split the vote, and Shakespeare in Love like snuck in. So, anyway, it's just a joy to watch. It's fun, but it's also, yeah, I mean, it's a fantasy. So anyway, and finally, my favorite Shakespeare adaptation is Kenneth Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing, with Kenneth Branagh, Emma Thompson. Oh my goodness, there's so many people in this. Michael Keaton, Denzel Washington, Keanu Reeves is the villain, but he's not really a villain. Like, I do need to read this play, because this film is just glorious. And one of the things that I love so much about this film is that it does things that you can't do on the stage. Like the opening of this film is just delightful and glorious. I mean, these men riding in on a horseback, and they all just shout like, yay, into the air, I mean, for no reason. And Kenneth Branagh running through a fountain, kicking the water up. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. In addition to being incredibly well acted, maybe not so much by Keanu, but like, he is kind of a villain without a motive. Like, so Michael Keaton is hysterical in it. He pretends to like ride on a horse and stuff. It's just wild. But I love this movie, and I think Shakespeare would really love it too, because he would appreciate all the things that you can do in a movie that you can't do in a play. Still would like to see this one performed in person though. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I hope you're enjoying Shaketube. If you've seen any of these movies, or if you have another adaptation of Shakespeare that's your favorite, by all means let me know what it is in the comment section below. I'd love to hear. If you've seen Anonymous and you think I'm crazy or you agree with me, like let me know. I'm very curious as to your opinions about that. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you very soon. Take care, BookTube.